I wanted to talk to you about this, Dave, and the fact that because it was Ridley Scott and it's a historical thing about, I mean, Napoleon. I don't know if you know that book that came out a year or two ago called "Who Was the Biggest" or "Who's the Biggest," some shit like that,
I
and
don't think so.
they actually rank in order, like a sports ranking system, like Pro Wrestling Illustrated used to do, of who is the most influential person who's ever lived on the planet that we know in civilization on. Napoleon came in right after Jesus Christ. He came in number two. Number two, Napoleon Bonaparte. That was Muhammad came after Napoleon. And this is a lot of historians, contributed to the rankings of this because that's how big of a deal his life was from the time he was 25 years old to the time he was in his early 50s. He completely changed the world. He even changed the banking system, the school system, how churches operated in society. I mean, he's the one that found the Rosetta Stone. I mean, he did a lot of shit, yo. And all we know him for, a lot of kids you talk to, is he was short, he had short man complex, and, he was Waterloo.
Actually, it wasn't that short,
He
ironically.
wasn't. But the thing is, this is what it's chalk. The second most influential man who walked the planet Earth. Anyway, so I always tell people go watch this kind of shit. But what it brings me to, and I wanted to ask you, Dave, and we'll throw it back to you, is it's worrisome to me, someone that loves history. And I just do, okay? And I know a lot of people who listen to us do as well, that movies, since the advent of movies have sort of taken on the role of historian. So whether it's true or not, someone is more likely to go watch a movie about a historical figure than to read a textbook or a book by a researcher or anything like that. They are much more readily available to watch a 2 to 4 hour epic on Richard Nixon, JFK, Abraham Lincoln, the Titanic, and that is what becomes accepted as years go on as, well, this is history. No, it's not. It's a theatrical production to sell movie tickets on an event that we all grew up with knowing, maybe from school or some shit like that. And I wanted to know what your thought was on that, because for me, it's disturbing. I mean, I like the fact that some people out there are like, oh, history, yay, entertainment. But what's really bad about it is that becomes the de facto true history in society, these movies. And you're like, when did we all decide that movies would be the replacing, history teachers? I don't know. It's kind of strange.
I have mixed feelings about it because, for one, it depends on kind of, first of all, what the film itself is claiming to be. Like, for example, Titanic was not claiming to be an autobiographical story of this woman Rose or whatever. It was, so it wasn't selling itself. Just as an example, it wasn't selling itself as a biopic, right? Now, take another film, Cinderella Man, with Russell Crowe, about the life of boxer James J. Braddock, and that is a biopic. And there were many things that it portrayed truthfully about him, but for the purpose of drama, it drastically changed the details of one of his opponents in the movie, who is a real person and who his family, I think they sued the film or tried to. I think they were unsuccessful,
Yeah.
because the version of Max Baer in the film was a dude who had killed a guy in the ring and was laughing about it and was like very kind of mustache twirly villain kind of thing. Whereas the Max Baer in real life had killed somebody in the ring and never got over that trauma from that guilt and felt terrible about it. And by all accounts was a very nice guy. And if you were going to change somebody's character that much, I would say change their name that you are using in the film. So I think sometimes like the side characters get dicked over by the history rewriting, sometimes even more so than maybe the Oscar Schindlers or the Napoleon Bonapartes or than the main focus of said film. I think it's also a fallacy of the public to ever deem any biopic as absolute fact. I think it's risky, uh, believing any documentary to be absolute fact. Because again, there's always a perspective and things can always be manipulated. And I would hope that these stories told in these ways could, if anything, encourage or inspire somebody to read more about that subject or watch more about that subject or learn more some way somehow about that person, that time period, that event, and then they can find out for themselves what the film was truthful about and what the film was not truthful about. So I understand from a narrative standpoint, there are needs to shorten things, there are needs to condense things, there are needs to combine multiple characters into one character, that kind of thing. I understand dramatically why that is necessary for the purpose of storytelling. I also think that when you as an author or as a director or as a writer or as a whatever, an actor, if you are portraying a person, an event, or a thing that is based on something truthful, that you do have a responsibility to be as honest as possible about what is actually truthful about that story and what was made up for the purpose of entertainment.
Yeah. I just think that I don't, you know, I don't think it's a fallacy necessarily of the filmmakers, unless the filmmakers are like, this is true. I do find it hysterical when a film or a TV show opens with based on a true story. Some of the based on a true story is loosely motherfucking based. Like,
Texas Chainsaw Massacre from the original, like they just, I mean, they loosely base some things off Ed Gein, but that was all solely marketing. John Larroquette's whole voice over the events are true. Like, no, that was just marketing. It was just all made up shit.
yeah, and it's interesting to me is like, you know, you can watch a lot of Oliver Stone has made a lot of political films, and about, I mean, films about politicians. And
Yeah.
what's interesting is watching them, because I've seen, I think, all of them. You know, Oliver Stone can be a great filmmaker and is certainly an acclaimed filmmaker, but some of the shit has that he's done that going forward. I mean, it just, holy shit, it's crazy. It's
Creative
crazy.
liberties, let's say.
It's no, it's crazy. And so the thing is that when you've got a president as your main character or political figures, and you got people sitting in a room watching this shit, it's like, look, I'm not against you villainizing this, but I mean, come on. I don't even think this conversation took place here. And it's just, and people are going to walk out going, remember when they were in the war room and they said that about the, no, because it didn't happen. But society's like, no, it's in the film. Okay. But as you said, what's even more specific or more, I guess, to the point of that, none of that happened.